thanks for joining me today, and this is essentially going to be the first of the Road to Community Reporter series. So obviously we've got loads of questions to go through, but we're just going to go with the natural order of things, see kind of what's natural and what comes up, and some of your hints, tips, really from going to Ignite for pretty much your whole career. So thanks for joining.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I think you are like the absolute perfect person to be doing this. You're so easy to speak with and so full of energy. It's great.
That's amazing. Oh, that means a lot to me. Thanks very much. And I try not to swear too much as well, so that's also a good thing. So just before I attack you with a barrage of questions, right? Let me know, like, tell me first, introduce yourself to people. So, I've known you for a few years now, but tell everyone who you are, the things you're passionate about, because I mean, this is probably a really hard thing because you do so much stuff. And I will make, just for those people who are watching or listening even, I will put all of Julie's links and everything and what she gets up to in the description. But yeah, go ahead. You've got the stage.
Well, thank you so much. So I'm Julie Yack. I work with the company Colorado Technology Consultants. We are a small consulting firm, obviously in Colorado. We're located in a small mountain town with 0 stoplights. It's kind of nice and quiet here. We get a lot of things done. These days we're doing a lot of training and training development. So writing and authoring the content, as well as leading some of the direction on where the training needs are. And then in my spare time, I like to work with the community. So just before this call, I had a speaker prep call for the 24-hour virtual conference that we'll be having next week.
Oh, that's amazing. And so tell me a bit about that conference. That's like so that's literally running for 24 hours, right?
It's literally 24 hours. We have 24 one-hour sessions. And I believe we only have 1 or 2 speakers that are repeats. So it's all the different speakers for the different sessions. Topics from Power Apps to Flow to talent to marketing, you name it, anything on the Dynamics or Power platform, and we're going to cover it.
That's pretty awesome. And is it going to be available for people who don't catch it live?
Yes, we'll be recording it. It's my first run. We're using Teams live events, so we'll see how that goes.
Brilliant. Well, I'll make sure, so by the time this airs, I'll make sure I put that link in. That'll have been and gone, but I'll make sure I'll put that link in the description as well, because I mean, 24 hours of content is absolutely crazy.
Well, it is just 1 hour at a time. So if you don't care to learn about talent or flow and you want to worry about marketing or some other details on the Power platform, then you don't have to worry about all the other noise that's not relevant to you.
Yeah, that's what I kind of like about that kind of stuff. It's still going to be relevant for so many people, just by there's going to be topics that not everyone's going to like.
Right.
Brilliant. Well, you also do a lot of photography and traveling and stuff, right?
Yes, very fortunate. So as part of my career as a technical trainer, I'm fortunate enough to travel the world. And so I have been to, I think last count was 60 countries.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And it's great. I really enjoyed the travel. At the end of next week, I'll be heading to Victoria in Canada to speak at the 365 Saturday there.
Wow, that is amazing. I am so jealous. For those people who don't know Julie and I, so every time I see Julie, so obviously with us being on pretty much the opposite parts of the world, when I do get to see Julie, I'm pretty much normally glued to her phone on like pictures of animals she's either sees in her back garden in Colorado or on her travels. We're pretty much glued to that for at least an hour or so, where you've been showing me pictures, right? I love it. It's amazing. So that's amazing. So thank you so much for sharing just that brief, and really everyone, it is a really brief snippet, a little bit about Julie. So tell me about your history with Ignite, like with Microsoft Ignite event, right? How many times have you been? Like, when was what was the first time for you when you went to the event, and just a brief history?
So the evolution of Ignite, really, it started with Tech Ed. And Tech Ed, I've been going to that event. I think my first one was 13 or 14 years ago. Very large event where you've got developers and IT pros all meeting in the same location. I think the smallest one I ever attended was somewhere around 20,000 people. And
small for 20,000 people.
But in my time before I worked in Dynamics, I did a lot in the .NET community. So I went as part of my role with INETA, the International .NET Association. So I was on the board of directors, I was the president, and so on. And so we always had a presence there in the conference hall where people could come and learn about how to become involved in the community. And so I was doing that for a long time before anyone at TechEd/Ignite even cared about Dynamics or the Power Platform.
That's amazing that you even started with the community way back then.
Yes, that's how I got here.
That is amazing. And I guess that really Microsoft wasn't really that kind of into the community by that point either. So it was kind of very
They
much a
were.
grassroots.
They actually were. Just
Wow.
not on the Dynamics side. So Dynamics
Okay.
and Power Platform took a while to come around. And so we've now got this super strong community, and it's kind of nice to watch that evolution.
Yeah, that must have been strange. It would be awesome to have like a fast forwarded like video of like seeing that, right? That would be amazing. I know it's pretty much impossible to do that, but that would be awesome just to see
Yep.
that from that description and what you just gave to what's going to be there in October, just to see the growth.
Yes.
Wow, that is awesome. So what have you spoken at Ignite before, or is it from an attendee? You have spoke.
I
When was
have,
the first time?
and I've worked at the Microsoft booths, and so I was there last year. We had some hands-on labs where it was guided/proctored labs where you had the large classroom. I think we had up to 70 students, and it was the proctor, myself, my husband David Yack, Derek Borman. We would stand in front of the group and we would step through the lab and explain all of the details as we went along. And then we had other experts in the classroom wandering around helping students. So other superstars like George Dubinsky, Sarah Jelinek, Sean Tabor, they all have been eager to help with those events as well.
Oh, that's amazing. So really you're coming from a few different perspectives then. So not only have you been an attendee, you've been an actual speaker and workshop proctor as well, which
Yes.
is actually kind of interesting. Have you done any of the from a speaker position as well? Because I kind of want to also, you know, for those people who perhaps are speaking for the first time, you know, is there any kind of tips you would give those people?
Yes. So just because the conference has tens of thousands of people doesn't mean that your session will. And don't take it personal if you get to your session and there's 20 people, because that means that those 20 people may very well have had your session at the top of their list. And that still says something. And that doesn't mean that what you're offering has any less value. It's definitely something that's necessary, especially you're going to have your PowerPoints and whatnot available to attendees after the fact. So that's a great opportunity for you to have some good outreach and to spread the message and the technology.
Oh, that's amazing advice. And because I know a lot of people in the event space kind of get a bit bummed out when they see it only, you know, when you look at the 25,000 people attending, like you said, and you get small, they're kind of disappointed. But I think that is such amazing advice, because also a lot of the sessions are recorded, so people are probably going to consume them after. But also I was looking at the session catalog and also knowing, like from a planning perspective, like a lot of there's like 8 to 10 or even more sessions that clash at any one time, because this, you know, even though you and I are business applications, a lot of people will take this opportunity to also go and do some of the learning paths or some of the other technologies like Azure or AI and all that kind of stuff as well. So as an attendee, you know, you have also a lot of choice from that side of things too.
Right. And the lines between the technology are definitely blurring a lot. That just because you're in business applications doesn't mean you don't need to have skills in Azure, right?
Yep.
It really, you need to have that wide set of knowledge to have that sustainable career.
Yeah, so that's amazing advice from a speaker perspective. So for all of you who are new time speakers at Ignite, take that on board for sure. So from an attendee perspective, so imagine this is your first event, right? Or imagine this is obviously people who are going to be, let's change it up. Imagine people who are listening or watching. People are a little bit nervous about attending. There's so many people. What are your top 3 tips overall? So regardless of kind of like, you know, category of advice, what are your top 3 tips that you would say to people?
Don't forget to plan your meals. That's a big deal.
Food's pretty
Yeah, well, people just were like, oh, well, I'll just grab something later. Well, no, because oftentimes there's not easy access to quick food. And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you may have missed a snack break or whatnot. So plan your meals, make sure that you're taking advantage of what's being offered, and throw some protein bars in your bag.
What kind of food, as a segue, what kind of food has been offered in the past? I know that it could be different because they might change caterers and stuff, but what kind of food has been offered?
So this is where I'm not going to be very popular with the meeting planners, but it's not been very good. It's not
Okay.
been very good. It's
No,
been
and I think that's great feedback. I think that's amazing.
well, and I've given the feedback on my evaluations of the events and whatnot, but it's a lot of cold sandwiches. And as a technical trader that travels the world, I get a lot of cold sandwiches.
Yep.
So it's not always good, reliable food. The snacks are decent. If I remember correctly, the convention center in Orlando does have a food court. So
Okay.
the cold sandwiches are going to be included in your event pass, but the food court, you'll be paying, you know, $10, $20 out of your pocket, but then you'll have a hot meal. I
Yeah.
think there's a good barbecue place there, if I remember correctly.
Wow. Oh gosh, you're making me hungry. Is there a coffee? If like, I'm speaking selfishly right now, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners and stuff will be interested in this. Is the kind of coffee on tap there?
Yes, but it's American coffee.
Oh, it's better than British coffee, to be honest. So
Okay, fair,
that's
fair.
not too.
Yeah,
That's not-
not saying a lot, but yes,
yeah, it
there's
is.
definitely be coffee available.
So that's good. And also, you heard it first, right? That there was you said barbecue place, which
Yes,
is making me
yes.
so hungry. I
Um,
love that it's taken us like 5-10 minutes to get to food already.
exactly. So my second piece of advice is good shoes, and um, everyone's going to tell you that, but I'm going to tell you pay attention to the socks because your feet will get sweaty and tired, and if you have a spare pair of clean socks in your bag that you're going to carry, you'll thank me about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mhm.
Trust
That's
me.
actually really good advice. I've not heard
Yeah,
that advice ever,
yeah.
so that's great.
And then my last piece of advice is don't be that person. So there's going to be happy hours, there's going to be vendor parties, there's going to be free flowing alcohol. Don't be that person. We're talking about 2 months after the event.
Love it.
Have a drink, be professional, or don't have a drink. That's fine. No one's going to fault you if you don't want to have that drink. And if you have that one beer, that one glass of wine in your hand for an hour and a half, no one knows it's been there for an hour and a half, right? And then if you feel compelled to be having that drink, then yeah, just don't be that person.
That's actually really good advice, and I guess that's also really interesting from a nightlife. So that was one of the things that I really wanted to ask you in terms of, the event's a week-long event almost, right? So is
Right.
there a lot of are there a lot of after parties? Are there a lot of social events, all that kind of stuff? And how do you manage them all, right? You've been, as an attendee, you've gone to all of these sessions, you've got all of this knowledge in your head. How do you manage going to all of these social events? Because a lot of people have flown let me get my words out, flown all over the world,
Right.
and you're exhausted. You're probably going to be jet lagged at least for a few days if you're lucky. How do you manage that?
You're just going to be tired.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what's gonna, if you end the week and you're not exhausted, you didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Right. And then I've had an evolution myself of what's important to me at the conferences. So back in the day, it was how many things can I go to? I'm going to miss all these social events. Let me go to everything. And now I'm definitely more strategic about it. I want to make sure that I'm seeing the friends that I've made. I want to make sure that I'm meeting the new people that I should be meeting. And so, yes, there are events every night. Vendors have parties. There's happy hours at the expo hall. There's probably an attendee celebration. And so, you know yourself, and get the rest, get some food. Don't be that person.
That's
And
amazing.
and make sure you get to those evening events. If you're not exhausted, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that's good. And it's about also the value side of things as well. Like it is an event, like the way I always see these things in terms of that. And I know that when you open your eyes in the morning and you're like, oh really, like another day, like I'm tired, or like I can't deal with it, there's also about, from my side of things, go ahead and just lie in for a few hours. That's fine. Like rest up if you really want to. If you feel you need to, go ahead, right? It's not about, it's about what you want to do as a person, not what you're expected to do at the event as well. Because not every, you don't want to be grumpy around people at the same time. You're going to be meeting a lot of new people,
Right.
and you want to be able to be fresh for that. And which is what I really liked about your food thing, because for me, when I first started going to events, I never ate. So like I would actually always have this stupid rule about if I presented, I would also not eat because I'm a very messy eater as well. So like take a cloth or something or a tissue would be my advice. My advice to past Sarah would be like, take a tissue, it's fine, go ahead and eat, you need to eat.
Wear a sweater and then take it off so you're fresh. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm gonna do that. I've got sweaters, I've got jumpers I could use, because I always used to worry that I'm gonna present and I'm gonna be that girl with the tomato sauce or the sauce on her shirt.
Oh,
because
I have been that girl.
yeah. And no, that's good. That's kind of, you're making it look good. We should it's kind of like plug in that look. It's a new look for us, which makes me feel a whole lot better. And it's fine to do that, right? It's just that, again, it's that anxiety around speaking is I always wanted to put my, your game face on when you present, and something that I didn't do was eat. And that really, people are not nice when they're hungry. So
well, and check your teeth for food.
Yes.
To make sure that you don't have that piece of broccoli when you're presenting.
Yes, and that's also really good advice. Or cookie or stuff you save for later. I know you're saving it for later, just don't. So you mentioned like meeting new people, which I think that especially I guess I know that we've gone to a lot of events, and there's people out there that are absolutely experienced event goers, and a lot of people don't mind talking to new people. But how do you introduce yourself to someone you've never met? How do you imagine you're in a line and there's no one there that you know? How do you go ahead and start conversation? How do you be that person?
Introduce myself, just in a sentence or something, and then ask them questions about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go to a conference, I make sure that I have my LinkedIn card readily available for them to scan with their LinkedIn app if they want to connect.
I'm so happy you mentioned that, because you know what, I use that all the time.
Do.
When I get it out, when I get my phone out, I'm like, hold on one second, just like, let me just open a LinkedIn app, because there's a QR code that you can scan right now. They're like, what are you doing? Oh my God, I didn't even know that existed.
Yes.
So that's, honestly, I'll put some like screenshots or like do a little like thing on the video like just now, just to show you how amazing it is, because it really is cool.
Well, and you can save that as an image file on your phone. You can even make it your wallpaper for the event, your lock screen or something for the event, and then just back to your dog after the event.
Oh my God, I never even thought of that. So everyone just ignore what I just said. You can ignore all that stuff about like opening the app and like, wow, we are real technologists, right? Just take a screenshot, take a picture of that QR code and put it as your wallpaper. That's amazing advice. Wow, that's awesome. And so you can, in terms of the importance of meeting new people, like, would you gauge it as quite an important thing? I know what you said about, you've kind of maybe it's the wrong wording, like up to your event game, because I completely get what you mean by that. But for those people who perhaps haven't gone to events, once you've been to a few, you kind of figure out what's important to you. Is it meeting new people? Is it connecting with old people, like people that you've met in previous events? Is it about the content? Is it about the speaking, right? So you figure out what's the main reason you're at the event. But in terms of, regardless of what's important for people, would you say meeting new people still should be high on people's list?
Absolutely. I think that networking is a really, really big advantage of going to these events, because there are so many people who don't get to go to the events. You may get to see the content online, but what you don't get is that in-person meeting of people. And so don't waste that opportunity.
Yeah, and that's amazing advice, because you're right, is that we talked about earlier that the content's recorded anyway, or a lot of the content is. I'm not too sure about the theatre sessions, because I know that they're changing it up year on year in terms of what they can and can't or want to record. But in terms of you're right, it's about the people. You cannot capture that moment in, kind of in any other way, and you've just spent all of that money getting there to the event, paying for your ticket. You want to make the most of it.
Right, exactly.
And in terms of like so you mentioned socks. So this is one of like my such an important question. It's not specifically about socks, but in terms of, it's a week. What would you say are the essentials to pack for that week?
So this conference is a lot different than some of the business applications ones that you've probably been to. So business applications, we tend to, I guess, dress more professionally. Mm-hmm. Especially back in the convergence days when half the audience was the business decision makers in the suits. I don't think you'll see a single suit at the event. And if you do, it will be very unusual. You're going to see cargo shorts, sandals, t-shirts. It's a very, very casual event.
Mhm.
And so be comfortable. For women, make sure that you've got a bag that holds what you need it to hold. It may be an hour journey back to your hotel. So bring with you what you need. You're going to get an event bag at the beginning of the event. Don't use that as your bag because it will look like everyone else's bag. You won't be able to find yours if you set it down. So make sure, great, take it home, give it to your kids, use it after you get home, use it to hold swag on the way home, but don't use the event bag at the event. So yeah, don't use the event bag when you're at the event because everyone gets one, you won't be able to find yours. So plan to bring one and plan to grab some swag. You're going to have plenty of choices between t-shirts and USB chargers and all of those things that you'll be looking out for.
That's actually really good advice about don't use the event bag. As much as the bags are kind of cool and stuff and convenient, that you're so right, is you won't be able to find yours when you put it down and all that kind of stuff, and you don't want to end up losing your stuff at the event.
Right, absolutely.
And just bring it, so humor me a little bit, just being from the UK in terms of the climate. So you mentioned like shorts and stuff. What's the weather going to be like?
Hot and sticky.
Right, it's not
My hair
nice.
curly now. In
I love it.
Orlando,
Yeah.
it's a lot different.
Wow, really? Like that bad? Like,
yes, because here in Colorado we have very, very low humidity. But in Orlando, even in November, it's going to be hot and sticky and super high humidity.
is that going to be worse than Atlanta? I was at the MBAS event in June, and like that was pretty humid for like my radar.
Comparable or worse.
Wow, wow. Okay, so
But
yeah,
your skin will be very, very happy.
I love it.
Maybe not, but your skin will really enjoy that.
I love it. I wonder what color it would make my hair go. That's good. So for those people who perhaps aren't, used to that kind of weather, because being in the UK, I'm certainly not. So it's pretty much like kind of like you said, shorts or like kind of. Would you say like jeans is good or like?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I tend to wear jeans, short sleeve shirts, but also the convention center might be a little bit cool. So grab a hoodie, grab a sweater, something to throw in your bag so you've got that, because it'll be super hot outside and super cold inside.
Cool.
So those of us with glasses, when we go in and out, we get fogged up.
Okay, no, that's actually really, really good advice, because one of the things that really is frustrating is when you try your best to kind of dress appropriately and for the climate, and then you hit air conditioning and it's you end up freezing, especially as a speaker. You don't want that if you're presenting. You don't want to be absolutely freezing before your session. You don't want to have to do push-ups before your session to warm up either.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's really good advice. So I'm glad I asked that. Brilliant. So let's just we'll do one last question in terms of the event, right? So in terms of, there's a lot of people who would probably describe themselves as an introvert for going to the event. And one of the things that, and some people may go, well, if you're an introvert, don't go to events. And it's like, yeah, I can, don't get me wrong, I'm empathetic to everyone, and I completely get that in terms of that. But that's like saying don't go outside, right? Is that people, and for me personally, I still get tired from talking to so many people. As much a lot of people will be surprised to hear that, but I talk to a lot of people, but I still get tired, right? People still need their downtime. And I think that, is there any way or anywhere in the event where you can go and have that downtime that people need?
Yeah, there's all kinds of different rooms available and lounges and so on, and headphones. You don't have to be listening to anything to wear your headphones. People don't know if you're listening to something or not. If you have headphones on, they'll leave you alone.
That's amazing. So we're not talking like AirPods here, because those are designed to be kind of almost inconspicuous. You're talking about the big fat headphones, right?
Or just show the buds that have the wires or something to show that you've got something else going on. It doesn't have to be playing anything. You don't have to be listening to anything but air, but that tunes things out.
Brilliant. That's amazing advice. That's really, really good. So just go find a table or something, go on your phone for a bit, go read a book with your headphones on.
Absolutely.
So it's a clear message to people. Just say, hey, just give them 10, 15 minutes or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing advice, because then it's not going to be dependent on rooms, because the other thing is that sometimes there's rooms at these kind of events, but they're still full of people, and and also they're normally full of people you probably know, which then you're going to have to talk to them. So it's again, it doesn't really meet the needs of someone who's just looking for some downtime in terms of the event, because like you said, your hotels, you know, some people's hotels aren't going to be close to the event. You can't just go back to your room unless you want to spend a fortune on Uber. So yeah, that's amazing advice.
Yep. There's also going to be prayer and meditation rooms and things like that available. So look for those.
Brilliant. That's amazing. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for this amazing advice. Is there, in terms of like the stuff that you're up to, right? So what's been good, just, you know, to close it out and to tell everyone the stuff that you've been working on, like immediately or recently or right now, and what's going to be coming up for you in the future?
Well, we have recently done a soft launch of our training site, 365.training. And right now, the content is very heavily focused on dynamics in the Power Platform. We published a book recently. You can find it on Amazon. Looking at another screen to make sure I get the exact title. Common Data Service, the Power Platform Series. It's available on Kindle. We've got it listed for like $10. So we just want to encourage people to be able to go out there and get that knowledge on Common Data Service. And so we're going to continue to build that content on 365.training, as well as we do a lot of work directly for Microsoft. So your App in a Day series, your Advanced App in a Day series, your Admin in a Day, App in an Hour, Flow in an Hour, we're involved in all of that content as well.
That is amazing. You've got so much on, and I can't wait to see like your training site, and that book is on my list as well, because knowing the Common Data Service, you know, I know this is very business applications focused right now, this talk, but in terms of, you know, that's going to be relevant to people across the whole space, not just people in business applications. So, you know, that's amazing, and good luck with everything. And thank you so much for taking the time to be on the series, and talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Enjoy the event.
Thank you. Thanks. And to everyone else as well. Enjoy the event.
Yeah.